Good morning, my beloved family. Today, we continue with our journey of stages of faith, the wall. The wall is a place where we take our solitary journey with God. Some call it the dark night of the soul. During our journey through the wall, we learn that we need to let God be God and let God direct our lives. Now, there are types of resistance people show at wall. Let's see. The first one, strong egos. Now, those of us in the group think of ourselves as strong and talented. The struggle between God's will and our will activates our feeling of self-sufficiency. We sincerely believe that we are in charge and by being or doing good can use our talent to control our own lives. It has worked that way for us so long. Now we try to scale the wall, but we never reach the top. We frustrate ourselves by not recognizing that ultimately, if God is to be God in our lives, we cannot remain in control. For us, losing our ego-centeredness inevitably accompanies the journey through the wall. Beware. Our ego resists vigorously. This experience, however, does not mean that we lose our self-esteem. Rather, our ego-centeredness is changed to God-centeredness by coming under God's control. The second resistance, self-deprecators. Now, these are the people who keep criticizing themselves, always undervaluing themselves. At the other extreme, many of us encounter the wall with self-deprecation. By putting ourselves down and not accepting God's free, deep and enduring love, we continually try to measure up to unreal expectations. Oh, I don't deserve it. I will never make it. We miss the truth that in order to move through the wall, we must come to a deep and significant sense of God's unconditional love and acceptance of us just as we are. The third resistance, intellectuals. Of course, there will be intellectuals at the wall. Now, we intellectuals will try to rationalize and analyze the wall. We will reason our way through our intellect. For us, going through the wall requires a major softening, a loss of intellectual arrogance, and an acceptance of ambiguity and humility. For us, it will be a humbling, at times a belittling experience. We must learn to accept God's will without feeling the strain of wanting to debate it. We must learn to be a vessel to be filled by God rather by our own intelligence. The fourth resistance, ordained. The ordained leaders of spiritual or religious groups among us have much at stake as they have followers, and they have to act like role models to their beliefs. Now, we sometimes approach the wall by claiming spiritual power to destroy it and thus be vindicated in our role. We demand the wall to crumble. We stand waiting for the wall to respond obediently to our cry. Because we are doomed close to God, we feel God should respond to our requests. Submitting our own will for God's has become our weakness. How painful for us to realize that we, the leaders of the flock, also have to go through the wall. We must come to terms with ourselves and face to face with God. No matter how differently God emerges in comparison to our expectation and teachings. This comes as a very humbling experience. It is difficult for spiritual leaders to become that vulnerable and face it. Spiritual pride is difficult to face, especially when in a position to lead others. Now, you would say this resistance at wall are the very values we are expected to showcase in our everyday lives. Then, how do we differentiate and how do we know that they are restraining? Well, the answer is simple and easy. As we journey through the wall, none of these would be effective, and that's enough of an indication to know that they are acting as a resistance and they are not acting as a solution. I would like to share our experience as family when going through the wall after I lost my job in Kenya and had to return back to India. Our episode lasted for almost 1 year. At first, we resisted with strong egos and using our intellect. I thought I worked for 15 years with Ericsson and I have worked outside India for almost 13 years. I was very confident that I would find another opportunity within Ericsson, as I had strong profile and I knew many top leaders. I started reaching out to my network and checking if any position is available. But till now, we had not submitted our situation to God. We were praying to Him, but we were executing all decisions and actions by ourselves. Our friends from church were showing the ordained resistance. They prayed for the wall to be destroyed and come down crumbling in the name of Jesus. The result was as expected. Nothing worked, and we had to return back to India. Anna started a new year of school in India, and I was without work. The most important job I had was to drop Anna to a school bus stop and buy milk. God was taking us through the humbling process, slowly working on us one brick at a time, melting and molding us in this process. I must share and I must confess that not even once He left us from His presence of comfort and care. His grace was ever present as we were trying to rebuild our life. Our wall lasted for 1 full year. We couldn't avoid it. We had to pass through it. And when we came out of the wall episode, we experienced the same love which Job has shared in Job chapter 42 verse 5. I had only heard about you before, but now I have seen you with my very own eyes. In conclusion, the process of meeting the wall requires us to go through the wall, not underneath it, not over it, not around it, or by blasting it. We must go through it brick by brick, feeling and healing each element of our will as we surrender to God's will. Our ego and our will are transformed and made new. We do not learn to get rid of them, but to submit them. Along with the spiritual healing comes psychological healing. We move towards wholeness and holiness. We do not get rid of our ego or our will. We release them. We let them be turned inside out so that God's unconditional love can emerge. I want to conclude my message with the hymn Spirit of the Living God, which appropriately describes the wall. It describes the moment of melting down and reshaping. The word goes like this: Spirit of the living God, fall afresh on me. Melt me, mold me, fill me, use me. Spirit of the living God, fall afresh on me. The melting and the molding with fire and wax are excellent analogies of the wall experience. Before the filling and using comes the time of melting and molding. Previously, we may have allowed God to melt an arm, or leg, or head, of food, but this time we offer more of our body, mind, and soul for melting and molding. Spirit of the living God, fall afresh on me. My dear brothers and sisters, my dear family, if you're going through the wall, submit yourself, submit your will and your ego to God and allow Him to lead it. And in the journey, He will transform you. And His unconditional love will emerge out of it. Remember, God's unconditional love is always with us. Have a blessed day and a great week ahead.
Spirit of